2023 flagship projects. Flagship projects of Agenda 2063. The flagship projects of Agenda 2063 refers to key programs and initiatives which have been identified as key to accelerating Africa's economic growth and development, as well as promoting our common identity by celebrating our history and our vibrant culture. The flagship projects encompass, amongst others, infrastructure, education, science, technology, arts, and culture, as well as initiatives to secure peace on the continent. Now you know about the flagship project. Let's then continue in the class as you read on.
Quality of living for all African people.
The population of animals on the continent.
Of United Nations. Your Excellency Azali Asman, and President of the Union of Comoros and Chairperson of African Union. Your Excellency William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and the host of Media Coordination Meeting. Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government. Your Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Your Excellency Amina Mohamed, Deputy Secretary General of United Nations. Your Excellency Dr. Kinumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank. Your Excellency Dr. Monique Sazabagana, Deputy Chairperson of African Union. Your Excellencies, AU Commissioners, Head of Organs, Regional Economic Communities and Regional Mechanisms. Distinguished guests, all protocols observed. I now invite His Excellency Chairperson of African Union to call the meeting to order. I thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Mesdames. Je donne la parole au chef du protocole pour la note du déroulé.
Excellencies, very good morning to you. May we all kindly rise for the anthem of African Union. This will be followed by the national anthem of the Republic of Kenya. Your Excellency, Mr. Ghazali Osmani, President of the Union of Comoros and the Chairperson of the African Union. Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. Excellencies, Heads of State, Government of African Union member states, here present. Your Excellency, Mr. Musa Faki Mahamed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Your Excellency, Madame Amina Mohamed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Excellencies, Honorable Ministers here present. Your Excellency, Dr. Monique Nsanza-Baganwa, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Excellencies, Commissioners of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, members of the Permanent Representative Committee here present, Excellencies, Heads of African Union organs and Heads of Regional Economic Communities, all protocol observed, distinguished delegates, a very good morning to you all. It's a beautiful day here in Nairobi, the vibrant green city in the sun, where African Union meetings have been ongoing since the 13th of July, 2023. It is my utmost honor and pleasure to take you through the program of the opening ceremony of the 5th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union, Regional Economic Communities and Regional Mechanisms, which is being held today, the 16th of July, 2023, at the United Nations complex in the very beautiful Republic of Kenya. Following the 43rd ordinary session of the Executive Council, which took place from the 13th to the 14th of July 2023 here in Nairobi, today's mid-year coordination meeting is being convened under the African Union theme of the year, Acceleration of African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation, as the African Union continues to pursue its continental aspiration as embedded in Agenda 2063. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the program for today stands as follows. We will have a statement by His Excellency Mr. Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, followed by a statement by Her Excellency Madame Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. We shall then have a statement by His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, following which we will have the opening statement by His Excellency Mr. Ghazali Osmani, President of the Union of Comoros and the Chairperson of the African Union. Immediately after the opening ceremony, we shall have the official family photo of the session. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to highlight, among others, this coordination meeting has the important task of fast-tracking the integration process in Africa and to consider the report on African Union institutional reform. It is also expected to report and matrix on the division of labor between the African Union, regional economic communities, and member states on different sectors. Excellencies, it is now time to begin our proceedings, and without any further ado, I wish to humbly request His Excellency Mr. Musa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, to deliver his statement. Excellency, the floor is yours.
And current chairman of the African Union. Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Excellencies, Head of State and Government, Excellency, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, my sister Amina Mohammed, Excellencies, Chief Executives of Regional Economic Communities and Regional Mechanisms, Excellency Mahamadou Issoufou, AU Champion of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Honorable Ministers, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Commissioners, Dr. Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, Professor Orama, President of the Afrexim Bank, Chief Executive of ODA-NEPAD, Mr. Secretary General of FCFTA, Mr. Director General of Africa CDC, Excellencies, Ambassadors, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me first of all to express my warm greetings and my sincere thanks for His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, his government, and the brotherly people of Kenya for their warm welcome, including the excellent conditions offered to us, which are all a hallmark of Kenya's legendary hospitality. Asanteni sana. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, lancée en juillet 2019 à Niamey au Niger, la réunion de coordination tient aujourd'hui sa 5e session ordinaire. Elle nous offre l'opportunité d'évaluer le chemin parcouru et nous permet de nous féliciter des avancées enregistrées, mais davantage d'identifier dans une démarche de critique positive les obstacles qui continuent de joncher le chemin d'une intégration à la fois efficace et productive. Il nous faut évaluer les effets de l'intégration sur nos différentes économies nationales et au-delà, sur l'Afrique, sous le prisme du renforcement de sa posture en tant qu'acteur international respecté dans le monde. C'est dans la logique de ce double objectif que nous passons en revue les différents points inscrits à notre ordre du jour. Le rapport sur l'intégration régionale donne la pleine mesure du travail accompli au niveau de nos communautés économiques régionales, et c'est en dépit d'un contexte économique particulièrement instable. Après avoir retracé l'historique de l'intégration régionale, le rapport met l'accent sur les réalisations enregistrées en 2022. Ces réalisations, très diversifiées, correspondent aux actions et projets conduits par les CER en conformité avec leurs priorités respectives. La présentation du rapport reviendra en détail sur les bilans de l'intégration régionale et sera complétée par les interventions des CER et par d'autres acteurs impliqués dans le processus de l'intégration. Ce processus décrit par le rapport a été conforté par ailleurs par l'accélération de la mise en œuvre de la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine. Comme l'attestent les avancées dans la libéralisation du commerce des biens, l'adoption des instruments juridiques sur l'investissement, la concurrence et la propriété intellectuelle en vue de favoriser les flux d'investissement et la création de richesses. Nul doute que dans la présentation de son rapport, le champion pour la ZLECAf reviendra sur ces questions, notamment le commerce numérique, la contribution des femmes et des jeunes au commerce, les projets et actions de facilitation du commerce en général. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, de tels progrès ne sauraient occulter les contraintes structurelles qui ont toujours handicapé notre processus d'intégration. Au nombre de ces contraintes, je voudrais citer en particulier le déficit de financement pour la mise en œuvre du programme d'infrastructure à l'échelle continentale, la dégradation de la en tant qu'entrepreneur du progrès et bouclier protecteur contre l'extrémisme et le terrorisme. L'incompréhensible retard dans les ratifications du protocole sur la libre circulation des personnes et des biens ne saurait être oublié dans cette liste d'handicaps. À ce sujet, je réitère mon exhortation au président en exercice des communautés économiques régionales qui ne l'ont pas encore fait de procéder aux ratifications au niveau de leurs régions respectives. Il nous faut de toute urgence sortir de cette flagrante contradiction à vouloir la liberté du commerce et refuser la mise en œuvre de la libre circulation des personnes et des biens. L'Union africaine et les communautés économiques régionales, déjà engagées dans une dynamique de coopération après l'entrée en vigueur du protocole révisé, devront accélérer la cadence de leur concertation pour lui donner une visibilité à la fois concrète et opératoire. Ensuite, les communautés économiques régionales entre elles, en mutualisant les moyens dans la conception et la mise en œuvre des projets et des politiques de développement, ce qui leur permettra de bénéficier de rendements d'échelle croissants. Enfin, la dynamique collaborative entre les CER devra s'étendre entre ces dernières et la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine. Celle-ci, tout en capitalisant sur les acquis de CER, comme le stipule le traité portant sur sa création, pourrait contribuer à desserrer les contraintes de l'intégration régionale qui sévissent au niveau continental. Dans cette logique, félicitons-nous des progrès enregistrés en matière de coordination, illustrés par 5 exemples de réussite d'actions conjointement menées, d'une part par l'Union africaine et les CR et mécanismes régionaux, et d'autre part au niveau des CR elles-mêmes. Le premier exemple porte sur l'accord de cessation des hostilités en Éthiopie, sous les auspices conjoints de l'Union africaine et de l'IGAD, qui a inspiré les 2 organisations dans l'adoption récente de la feuille de route commune sur la crise soudanaise. Le deuxième concerne l'initiative de coopération inter-CR entre la CEAC et la CEDEAO en matière de sûreté maritime. Le troisième concerne les efforts de résolution de la sempiternelle crise des Grands Lacs, où, sous l'égide de l'Union africaine, un sommet quadripartite a réuni à Luanda le 27 juin dernier la East African Community, la Conférence internationale sur la région des Grands Lacs, la CEAC et la SADC. Le quatrième a trait à la contribution de l'ODAN-EPAD au renforcement des infrastructures, à la lutte contre les changements climatiques et à la sécurité alimentaire. Le quatrième s'incarne dans la plateforme entre les CR et les EMR, les États membres et la Commission de l'Union africaine, élaborée dans le cadre de la prévention et de la gestion des conflits dans le continent. Pour institutionnaliser cette coordination et lui conférer un caractère plus formel, la division du travail entre l'Union africaine, les communautés économiques régionales et mécanismes régionaux et les États membres figurant sur l'agenda de la réforme de l'Union africaine est en cours de finalisation. Une retraite lui a été consacrée au niveau du comité des représentants permanents le mois dernier à Kigali au Rwanda. Les observations et commentaires sur le projet de rapport enregistré ont été prises en compte et la version finale en sera enrichie en vue de sa présentation en octobre 2023 pour examen et validation par le Conseil exécutif. Pour une fonctionnalité optimale, la coordination devra élargir son champ d'action pour inclure des acteurs tels que les institutions financières continentales, les centres de réflexion et de recherche, la Commission économique des Nations unies pour l'Afrique, la société civile et les secteurs privés. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, bien que l'intégration en question soit celle de l'Afrique, elle ne peut se construire sans la prise en compte des mutations géopolitiques et économiques en cours dans le monde. L'Afrique subit les conséquences de la gouvernance mondiale, notamment les effets des crises financières et des changements climatiques qui handicapent son processus d'intégration et de développement. Face à cette situation, l'Afrique devra défendre ses intérêts à travers l'élaboration des positions communes, notamment dans les domaines du changement climatique, du commerce, de la migration, du financement du développement et dans la résolution des conflits. Parlant du changement climatique, dont l'Afrique subit les conséquences les plus extrêmes, le président William Ruto, en sa qualité de président du comité des chefs d'État et de gouvernements africains sur le changement climatique, fera les points sur la position africaine commune présentée et défendue lors de la COP27. Il s'agira de l'affiner davantage en perspective de la COP28. La paix et la sécurité en Afrique et dans le monde restent une préoccupation majeure pour nous. Nous avons ici, en particulier, renforcé sous le leadership du comité de haut niveau présidé par son Excellence Denis Sassou Nguesso, président de la République du Congo, nos efforts en vue de la réconciliation nationale libyenne, en étroite collaboration avec le Conseil présidentiel libyen, dont je salue la présence du président Mohamed El-Menfi aujourd'hui parmi nous. Nous avons, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, harmonisé nos feuilles de route articulées sur la cessation des hostilités, la mobilisation de l'aide humanitaire et l'engagement des Soudanais dans un dialogue politique inclusif pour mettre sur pied un gouvernement civil de transition apte à appliquer un programme d'urgence économique, humanitaire et sécuritaire et à préparer des élections démocratiques dans les plus brefs délais possibles. La réunion des pays voisins, tenue au Caire il y a 3 jours, à l'initiative de son Excellence le président Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, à laquelle j'ai pris part, est venue renforcer la mobilisation de l'Afrique en solidarité avec le Soudan. Il est crucial que nous portons la plus haute attention à la cohérence et l'harmonisation de tous nos efforts avec le reste de la communauté internationale en assurant le leadership africain bien ordonné sur ce dossier africain particulièrement sensible. À l'évidence, la situation au Sahel, en particulier dans les pays du G5, continue de nous préoccuper. Plusieurs pays de cet espace, et ceux attenants, connaissent une transition pour le passage d'un régime militaire à un régime civil à travers des élections démocratiques. L'Union africaine et les organisations régionales compétentes s'efforcent de les accompagner dans cette recherche de retour à un ordre constitutionnel conformément à nos principes et aux aspirations des peuples concernés. Dans la Corne de l'Afrique, en Somalie, malgré les efforts remarquables accomplis sous le leadership du président Hassan Sheikh Mohamed, avec le soutien des ATMIS, la situation demeure encore très fragile. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les problématiques du financement du développement de l'Afrique sont inscrites au haut du tableau de notre agenda. Il me plaît à ce titre de souligner avec appréciation les initiatives entreprises par la Banque africaine de développement sous le leadership de notre frère Dr Adesina pour l'impulsion du financement de l'intégration régionale. Une certitude s'impose ici. L'Afrique ne saurait bâtir son ambition de développement sur ce que feront les autres pour elle. Cette certitude est chaque jour renforcée par les résistances inouïes aux idées de réforme des institutions financières internationales. En dépit de quelques signaux encore ténus, lisibles entre autres, à travers les progrès de l'idée d'ouverture du G20 à l'Union africaine, les réticences à une véritable inclusion du continent dans la gouvernance politique et financière internationale a encore un long chemin devant elle. De telles résistances ne nous rendront que plus déterminés à poursuivre notre combat pour plus de justice pour notre continent. Je formule le vœu que nos délibérations apporteront une contribution nouvelle significative à ce combat déterminant. Je vous remercie de votre bienveillante attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Chairperson, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Highlighting the important role of the United Nations as the key contributor to an empowered and transformed Africa, in line with the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda of 2063, I now have the pleasure to invite Her Excellency Madame Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, to deliver her statement. Your Excellency.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Azali Assoumani, the President of the Union of Comoros and Chairperson of the African Union, Your Excellency, William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, our warmly welcoming host, Your Excellency, Musa Faki Mohammed, the Chairperson of the Commission of the African Union, and my brother, Excellencies, women and youth of Africa, distinguished delegates, Asante Sana. It is really a great honor to join you at the 5th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union, the regional economic communities, and the regional mechanisms. I would like to thank the government of Kenya for the warm welcome home and the African Union for inviting me to share some reflections. This year's meeting provides us with yet again another unique opportunity to consolidate common ground in shaping and implementing Africa's narrative to meet the ambitions of Agenda 2063 and the aspirations of African people. Excellencies, today our world continues to face unprecedented crises, from the socio-economic impacts of COVID-19, a climate emergency, and the knock-on effects of the war in Ukraine. None of us need reminding that Africa played no part in creating any of these challenges. Unmet commitments by the international community to financing, to climate action, and adequate humanitarian responses have further aggravated the obstacles to the efforts made by Africa and its leaders to implement Agenda 2063. Meanwhile, we see renewed conflict and extremist terrorism are wreaking havoc across the continent, resulting in lost decades of development and millions of displaced persons and refugees. These calamities are leaving a generation of our young people, especially women, with the anxiety of a tortured present and a deeply uncertain future. Let me salute you as African leaders. Against this challenging global and continental backdrop, you continue tirelessly, day after day, here and abroad, to make the powerful case for Africa. Africa as the new horizon of possibility and as the source of solutions for its own challenges and those of the planet. Excellencies, you have the United Nations' complete solidarity. In just one important demonstration of this support and solidarity, the Secretary General continues to call the G20 for meaningful climate action that will end the addiction to fossil fuels so that we may address the imperative of a 1.5-degree world. He also continues to call loudly for the SDG stimulus, tackling debt distress and increasing fiscal space through the reallocation of additional SDRs to the African Development Bank Initiative, and the reform of the current global financial architecture, which is today morally bankrupt. Excellencies, if African solutions to African challenges and opportunities are to be more than a slogan, we must have a strong voice in the G20, defining Africa's innovation and ideas, and we must also have unified action by African leaders to disrupt the unacceptable status quo. We applaud the strong voices of President Ruto, President Macky Sall, and President Ramaphosa at the recent summit of a new global financial pact in Paris. You're here today to discuss, among other very serious issues, the African Union's reforms, the second 10-year plan of Agenda 2063, governance issues, and the work of the regional economic communities and mechanisms. As you do so, you will need to ensure that your cohesive voice and common positions come together to shape the upcoming G20 meeting, the UN General Assembly, and the SDG Summit. It will also inform the Climate Action Summit, the commemoration of the UN Declaration of Human Rights at 75, and the World Bank IMF fall meetings on reform, and then the last of the meetings of the year, the Paris climate stocktaking at COP28. The United Nations remains committed to accompanying the continent with the framework of Agenda 2030 as it informs Agenda 23, but also as you navigate these international rough waters and through these milestone summits. Finally, Excellencies, allow me to end with a plea to all of you. As an African woman and a very proud Nigerian, mother of 6 and grandmother of 4, I have an intergenerational stake in Africa. The continent faces a moment of reckoning when the world appears to take its gaze off Africa. We may appear down, but we are far from out. And as our leaders, we continue to count on you to forge a path towards delivering the vision for Africa that is enshrined in the 2063 agenda. Excellencies, This will not happen unless we stand united, with no light between you. As we say in Africa, if the wall cracks, the lizard will enter. And it needs you to be determined to live up to the courage of our convictions with a sense of urgency. It is this unity that we must draw from on the depths of Africa's turbulent history, but also our shared values and a sense of common purpose. Ultimately, Excellencies, it is Africa's very dignity that is at stake for us and future generations. In the words of late Kwame Nkrumah, who inspired Agenda 2063, I quote, "We in Africa, who are pressing now for unity, are deeply conscious of the validity of our purpose. We need the strength of our combined numbers to protect ourselves from the very real dangers of colonization returning in disguised forms." Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends, the women and youth of Africa, thank you for this opportunity, and I wish you constructive and productive meetings. Senator Sani.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Madam Deputy Secretary General. Excellencies, I now have the great honor to invite His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency Azali Osmani, President of the Union of Comoros and the Chair of Africa Union, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Mr. Musa Faki Mahamat, the Chairman of the Africa Union Commission, Your Excellency Isufu Mahamadou, Champion of the SCFTA and former President of Niger, Your Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, heads of organs and institutions of the Africa Union, regional economic communities and regional mechanisms, honorable ministers, the Honorable Anwar Guru, Chairperson of Council of Governors, the Honorable Johnson Sakaja, the Governor of the City of Nairobi, honorable members of Parliament, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I am greatly honored and delighted to I have a high privilege to have this opportunity to welcome you to the city of Nairobi and to Kenya. The opportunity to host this summit and your visit to our country does a tremendous honor to our nation. I welcome all of you, Your Excellencies, ministers, and our friends from across the continent and beyond to Kenya. Let me just give you one or two tips about Kenya. First, around the city of Nairobi, it is a city that has a canopy of very green on one side and also a national park in the city. In the national park, which is maybe 10, 15 minutes from your hotel room, we have wildlife, lions, and all manner of wildlife. We have tried to fence, but sometimes, as you know, wild animals, they break away from the fence. So if you take time to walk around the city of Nairobi and you meet a lion, please be careful because they are wild. We try to keep them inside. Secondly, let me also welcome you to Nairobi, to Kenya, and to give you some information that scientists, and I am one of them, have proven that the earliest remains of man are in Kenya. And therefore, for those of you who know the history of humankind, this is where humanity began. And so while you are here and you feel at home, it is because you truly are at home. So, and I want to give you my commitment that as the people of Kenya, we are having a national conversation as to whether we should have any visa for anybody coming home. So next time, next time you come to Nairobi, you might not need a visa. Excellencies, it is difficult to overstate the fundamental importance of this summit and the momentous consequence of the transformative business we have assembled here to transact. You will recall that as a continental political community, we resolved unanimously to pursue the integration agenda with greater vigor and focus. This commitment was underscored by the decision to formulate a suitable framework to effectively coordinate the diverse efforts undertaken through our 8 regional economic communities and various mechanisms that is part of the ecosystem of the AU. It is evident from the variety of activity, enhanced efficacy, and viability of AU's agenda and the undeniable increase of the AU Commission's administrative capacity and overall vigor of the regional and Pan-African integration efforts that the AU's commitment was earnest, accompanied by demonstrable political will and a focused and effective implementation strategy. We are a busy continent that is going places. The young, clean, green continent of the future, and we are determined to lead our march into this future as a united, empowered contributor of sustainable solutions for global problems. We are reasoning together, generating effective solutions together, implementing them together, facing our challenges head on together, making progress and getting results. This is what has brought Africa's implementation leadership to Nairobi, and the sum total of the agenda of the 5th Media Summit, which is this meeting. For this, I want to celebrate all of you who are here today, not just for making time to be here, but also for the work you do every day in taking the Pan-African Unity Project forward. For this is what the integration agenda is all about. Whether we are talking about regional economic communities or mechanisms or the broader continental effort, the unity of African people is our primary goal. I commend His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, for successfully chairing the Heads of State and Government's Orientation Committee, which has effectively steered AUDA-NEPAD in its momentous breakthrough in achieving the Agenda 2063 aspiration of consolidating regional and continental integration. I also thank President al-Sisi for successfully hosting the African COP, or the Implementation COP as it was called, the last conference of state parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. In November last year, it was at this COP that Africa firmly revealed to the world a new determination to project a clear, forceful, and united voice and claim its opportunity to contribute to resolving humanity's most serious existential threat, that is climate change. I salute with gratitude His Excellency President Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of the Republic of Gabon, in his capacity as the chair of the Economic Community of Central African States, for the progress he has made in stewarding collaboration among regional economic communities under the Inter-Reg Cooperation Initiative. As a result, the ECAS and the Economic Commission of Western Africa States has made significant strides in strengthening maritime security cooperation. I also appreciate the work being done by His Excellency President Ismail Omar Guelleh, the President of the Republic of Djibouti, who chairs the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, for his able leadership of IGAD's contribution to the progress towards agreement on the cessation of hostilities in Ethiopia, and now the activities that we are all undertaking to ensure that Sudan returns to normalcy and takes up its place as a stable, peaceful country in our continent. Further, I am cognizant of the animated activities and excellent work that has brought much progress in ongoing projects and initiatives being undertaken across many spheres by the economic community of West African states under the able leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Common Market of East Africa and Southern Africa led by His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, Southern Africa Development Community, SADC, chaired by His Excellency President Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Community of the Sahel, Saharan states under the stewardship of His Excellency President of Benin, Patrice Talon, the Arab Union of the Maghreb, led by His Excellency Tayeb Pakouche of Tunisia, and the East African Community under His Excellency President Evariste Ndayishimiye of Burundi. I must also recognize and praise the good and excellent work that the AU Commission continues to do under the leadership of its chair, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat. This summit has been made possible by the able leadership of his team. These AU-REC success stories establish without any doubt that a lot of great work is being done all over our continent, and that in our time, African leadership is signaling urgency, focus, consistency, and determination to sustainably manage and solve prevailing challenges and develop robust instruments to anticipate and preempt future crises. With such commitment, we now have confidence to pursue sustainable development and shared prosperity, and expect that Agenda 2063 is now firmly on course. The most compelling signal that African integration is unstoppable and that it will open doors for unprecedented socio-economic transformation is the progress we have made in implementing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We must all be proud of this magnificent project and historic achievement by and for ourselves, whose positive effects will reverberate throughout the world for a long time to come. I am not exaggerating. Let us consider the bare facts of the matter. This single mechanism has inaugurated the world's largest free trade area. Under it, 54 countries have agreed to create a single market with a population of 1.4 billion people and a GDP of US dollars 3.4 trillion. The free trade area is projected to lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty and boost incomes by 7%, or US dollars 450 billion by 2035. As I have had occasion to remark before elsewhere, this is the magnitude of what typical Pan-African collective action can achieve, and we are only getting started. The progress we have, the progress we have made by collaborating with unprecedented firmness of purpose in different domains, including peace and security, regional integration, investment, trade and development, and climate change, is of tremendous and positive transformative significance for us collectively. Agenda 2063 is our blueprint to deliver the Pan-African vision of an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa driven by its own citizens, representing a dynamic force in the international arena. Therefore, it is more critical now than ever before that we marshal our collective consciousness, willpower, solidarity, and unity to fulfill our fundamental generational mandate of introducing Africa as a new global power, ready and able to provide leadership towards a new industrial age that shall simultaneously usher in an era of inclusive development, shared prosperity, and effective climate action. We must therefore capitalize on the institutional reform momentum at the Africa Union to pursue the complete development of effective capacity to deliver Pan-African transformation. To do this, self-reliance, ladies and gentlemen, is essential. And a fit-for-purpose institutional architecture is indispensable at the AU. At the moment, over 60% of our program's budget is financed by partners. The demands of our challenging time require an AU that can pursue multiple urgent and critical interventions using internally mobilized resources. The Pan-African movement has always been about sovereignty and agency. First and foremost, chronic dependence, even on well-meaning partners, is starkly inconsistent with the aspiration of independence, sovereignty, and agency. And I therefore believe that we must take seriously the recommendations that have been made towards making our organization an organization that stands on its feet and an organization that is funded by us. This is why we must make progress in exploring, developing, and implementing solutions like the Kigali Decision, AU Decision 605 of 2016. Similarly, you may want to know that that decision has now been implemented by 17 countries. We need to persuade all our other brothers and sisters in the other countries to come on board so that we can do the responsible thing and fund our own organization. Similarly, it is time to free up the Africa Union from structural and organizational constraints, including duplication and other inefficiencies, thereby facilitating it to be effective on a greater scale. As a starting point, defining the roles and functions of different organs and instruments more clearly is unavoidable. The coordination, administrative, and implementation mandate of the Commission, the legislative and oversight function of a strong Pan-African Parliament, and the political leadership, ownership, and broad policy direction of the Council all need to be reflected more clearly through rational structural delineation. I hope, it's my prayer, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, that we finally make the right decision and build an organization that is fit for purpose, that has the requisite finances, the needed voice, and the leadership that can project Africa's position much more clearly with a strong voice so that we can take our place in the community of nations. COP27 was a turning point of tremendous magnitude because it brought home to the peoples of Africa the imperative to reconfigure our model of engagement with global and multilateral frameworks in general, and the urgency of projecting a new place, role, and voice to define Africa's contribution to global development and climate action. As we reflect and deliberate upon President El-Sisi's account of his commendable use of COP27 to facilitate the emergence of a fresh Afrocentric perspective to climate change, it is vital that we resolve to do even better and go much further at the forthcoming COP28 by taking on board a more robust position and proposing a transformed and inclusive global approach to tackling the climate change crisis. This is why it is important for us to pay special attention to the Africa Climate Summit, the first ever in our continent under the AU, which will take place here in Nairobi between September 4th and 6th. The summit, coming after the Paris summit where greater clarity emerged, will be a critical opportunity for us to accelerate global energy transition and deliver African solutions to the COP28 in Dubai